Hello friends, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. I am Rue and I am a small content creator who wishes she was into content creation when eyeshadow tags were a big thing. I love old school beauty content. I really do, and I'm trying to find ways to bring it back a little bit and just enjoy the content I'm making. And today we are doing an eyeshadow palette tag. I went to a couple of my favorite creators who have been on YouTube for at least like 5 to 10 years, and I searched for some tag videos to get a couple for me to film. So I found 4 and we're gonna do one today. I'm gonna do my best. The first one I'm gonna do is going to be, I believe it's called the Eyeshadow Palettes Tag 5000. I found this on Batty Bean's page back in 2023. And I thought I would answer these questions. So question number 1 is going to be palette you wore on a special occasion. And I only have one that I can think of that's happened recently. I'm not going to go super into detail about what the special occasion was, but it was a wedding for someone close to me. And this is the Diosa palette from Chantico Beauty, and I created a really beautiful look using some browns and pinks, and I loved how that makeup look turned out. Now, in a sense, it wasn't my special day, but I got to witness someone I care deeply about get married, and that was really wonderful. So I guess I'm gonna go with this one since it's one of the more recent things I can remember. There haven't been a lot of special occasions in my life over the past little bit here, so that was the only one that I could think of that I knew what palette I wore. So yeah, that was question 1. Question 2 is a palette you love, but it is repetitive. I honestly had a really hard time with this one. I feel like I'm pretty good at curating my eyeshadow collection to be things that I'm genuinely going to love. I don't know if I have anything that's super repetitive. You know, I had one in mind, but I think this one might be a better answer. So this is the Nomad Cosmetics Haunted Europe palette, and I have been really loving it so far. The one thing I will say is the mattes are pretty repetitive. Almost all of the mattes kind of are either a brown or leaning brown. Like we've got an orange here technically, but like matte. These two are a little similar. Like I know they look different on the pan, but I don't know. I just felt like when I played with this, it's a beautiful palette, but it is a lot of neutral tones as far as the mattes go in it. So I guess we're gonna go with the Nomad Cosmetics Haunted Europe palette, because the main thing you're going to do with this palette is a neutral crease with a pop of color. Yes, you can do some colorful stuff as well, but I did feel like the mattes in this one were a little bit more repetitive than I had originally realized that they were. The next question is going to be the palette you got your money's worth in, and I think I'm going to go with the Blush Tribe, the Hasina 2 palette. This is how emptied out she is. I've hit pan on quite a few shades. This is probably one of my most used palettes in my collection. I have a few ColourPop ones that are probably pretty close too, but as this was a favorite of mine for so long, I definitely think I've gotten my money's worth in this so far. And yeah, I did really love this palette for such a long time, and it still performs absolutely incredibly. So I think I definitely got my money's worth in this palette right here. Palette that is an amazing deal. Now, I'm a big advocate for waiting till things are on sale. I don't need things as soon as they come available because I just don't have that kind of money. But I had a couple options, and the first one was going to be anything from the Ice Cream Beauty box. So I'm going to show you a couple that I got from the Ice Cream Beauty box, and yeah, we'll just kind of talk about why I think that's the best. Alright, so let's go with the Lonely Scarecrow palette here, and it's really not just this palette. It's honestly subscribing for the Ice Cream Beauty box, because you're gonna get to try about 5 products for $30 US, In Canada here with shipping, you get that 5 products. It costs a little over between $50 and $60 with shipping and everything, which is kind of a lot, but with the conversion rate and everything, I still do feel like I get my money's worth. The Ice Cream Beauty Box has given me so much opportunity to try brands that I've been wanting to try, to discover brands I've never heard of. I had never heard of the Lonely Scarecrow until I got it in my Ice Cream Beauty Box, and this palette is absolutely stunning. So in a sense, you kind of pay for maybe the eyeshadow palette, if even, and then everything else is free. But honestly, most of the palettes they include are more expensive than that $30 US anyways. And I think it's just been such an amazing way to try different eyeshadow. I know that means that you're not picking the palette per se, but I would say that's the best way I've been able to try eyeshadows, and everything I've gotten in it has been really good quality as far as the eyeshadow palettes go. So yeah, anything from the Ice Cream Beauty Box. Next up is gonna be a quad I love but wish was a larger palette, and I actually don't own quads. I'm not a quad girly. The smallest I typically go is gonna be a 9 pan. So I picked out one of my 9 pans that I love, but I would have loved to see it extended a little bit more. This is the Trick palette from Beauty Moon Cosmetics, and it is such a beautiful Halloween palette. I love this, but imagine if they had room to add even 3 more shades, getting like a matte orange or a shimmer red. It would have been really fun to get a few more Halloween shades. That said, I do think this is curated so perfectly for the perfect little Halloween 9 pan palette. I love it so much that I would love to see what they did with it if it was just a little bit bigger. So yeah, this is the Trick palette from Beauty Moon Cosmetics. Next up is you love the quality of the eyeshadow but hate the packaging. I genuinely don't hate the packaging of any of my palettes, but I do have a palette from someone whom I no longer support. So I thought I would talk about that instead, and that's going to be the Mini Breaker from Jeffree Star Cosmetics. If I could keep this palette, but like it was created by someone else, that would be a dream. And I don't support Jeffree Star Cosmetics anymore. I haven't in a very long time. We just don't align with our morals and who we are as people, in my personal opinion, and that's perfectly okay. If you do support him, that's your business. It's just, I've definitely grown in a way where it's not a brand that I choose to support anymore. But I do still really enjoy this palette. I think it was such a fun little color story. I've created some incredible looks with this palette. The quality is really good. And I have tried some Jeffree Star that I no longer have that I didn't really love the quality of. But this one I really, really do enjoy. I just wish I could change the person who created it and have it be someone a little bit more aligned with me as a person. So I know it's not quite the right answer, but I genuinely don't hate the packaging from really anything I own. Next up is gonna be my dream palette with singles. The thing is I don't own more than 4 singles. I have 4 single shadows in my collection, and I'm not about to like point at all these colors in different palettes and pull out 20 palettes to create a perfect color story. What I will do though is show you a single that I wish I could either get again but it's discontinued, or I wish it was in a palette that I loved, and that is going to be the Game Beauty Robin Hood Shifty Shadow. I love this one. I'm definitely over halfway through it, and I'm trying so hard not to use it too often because I don't want it empty before I can find a replacement. So again, not the perfect answer, but I am absolutely in love with this shadow here though. Next up is palettes I like to combine together, and I usually am someone who uses one palette per look for the most part, but I recently paired these 2 palettes together and the looks I created were absolutely insane. I would definitely pair these 2 together all the time again. So this one is going to be the Neon palette from Ditto Cosmetics, and I bought this a few years back when Baddie Bean was really in love with this palette, and I know she decluttered this palette since then, but I'm still so absolutely in love with this palette. It's got so many beautiful pigmented neon shades in it, but it's all matte. And then we have the Efflorescence palette from Blend Bunny Cosmetics, and this is an all shimmer rainbow palette. And these two palettes, they just pair together so insanely beautiful. Like, I was blown away. I was not expecting them to be some of the favorite looks I've created when I was doing my series where I was using every single shade in every single palette in my collection. Now I'm not quite done yet, and I will be continuing that as new palettes come into my collection. But the looks I created with these two were immaculate. I was blown away, and I would absolutely continue pairing those two together to create some more amazing looks. Next up is gonna be a large palette I wish was smaller, and the only one I could think of was gonna be the Morphe, it's the Artistry palette, Living Color. I don't know. This was from quite a few years ago as well, and I do really like the palette, but there were some flops because I did use this palette too a little while ago where I used all the shades in it, and there were a couple shades that just didn't work very well, and I think that they could have gotten rid of like a row just to shrink it down a little bit, curate it a little bit better. We didn't really need these two golds. There's definitely some overlapping with some of the shades. These two blues were a little bit redundant. We probably didn't need both the matte and the shimmer of the blacks. So like they could have definitely gotten rid of like a row to make it a little smaller, especially if they had got rid of the shades that just didn't work as well. I think that would have been smarter because as much as I do enjoy this palette, there are some shades that were a flop and I just wasn't super impressed with. So they could have curated this one just a little bit smaller, but I do still really enjoy this palette. And then the last question is going to be an eyeshadow palette I wish I had a matching face palette for. And this was a tough one. I think I could have picked and chose quite a few different palettes that would have had a really cute matching set, but I decided to pick the Treat palette from Beauty Moon Cosmetics. Now this is technically a like set here. You can buy them individually or together, but it's the Trick or Treat, right? So they are technically together there. But this is like the cutesy pastel-y side of it, and I was just thinking like you could do some pink and lavender blushes with some like minty greens and even like an icy blue highlighters, and that would be such a cute palette to go with this. You could even go with like a neutral shaded blush, which I love brown blushes, so like something a little bit more almost like this shade for a blush. I think that this could have been curated into a really pretty face palette as well had they decided to do that. Could have been so cute. I would love a little minty highlight and a lavender blush, and oh man, so cute. So yeah, I think that this would have been a great thing to pair with a face palette. And that is all the questions, so I'm gonna leave the questions down below. If you feel like answering them in the comments, feel free. If you do this tag, feel free to tag me. I know I'm not the one that created it, but I would love to see your videos if you do it as well. And I had so much fun just kind of throwing back into early 2000s, I don't know what I'm saying, into the early YouTube beauty days and just answering some questions about makeup. I love having reasons to pull out all of my eyeshadow palettes and showcase them for different reasons. And yeah, this was just a really fun little video to do. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. It helps my channel out a lot. And if you liked me, liked my vibe, liked some of my collection, I don't know, feel free to hit that subscribe button if you feel so inclined to. It would mean the world to me. Otherwise, thanks for watching either way, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye!